story after story, tabloid after tabloid. As a mom, that breaks my heart for my girls, because I think this is such a horrible, they've been victimized more by what has happened in these last couple of weeks than they were 12 years ago, because they honestly, they didn't even understand or know that anything had happened until after the fact, when they were told about it.
That was Michelle Duggar last night discussing recent revelations that her son molested some of her daughters. Here's what two of those girls said about the release of police reports under the Freedom of Information Act that revealed what happened to them.
They don't have a right to do this. This isn't, we're victims. They can't do this to us.
And yet they did.
And they did.
A system that was set up to protect kids, both those who make stupid mistakes or have problems like this in their life, and the ones that are affected by those choices, it's greatly failed.
Joining us now, Mary Gail Frawley-O'Dea, a clinical psychologist who has worked with sexual abuse survivors for 30 years. What is your reaction to what we just heard the daughters say?
Well, my reaction is sort of what I thought last night, was that they have been raised in a closed system, and they haven't, they're saying, I think, what they expect their parents, what their parents expect them to say, and they're meeting the family expectations. And I'm not sure that they've had the space in that family to criticize or to really process the feelings that they had about what their brother did. I mean, I noticed last night when Jim Bob was asked by Megyn Kelly, what was it like for him as a father of the littlest child to know that that had happened to her? And he just brushed the question off and went right to, well, but we're so hopeful. We were so hopeful because Josh came forward and confessed to us. So to me, it said that the attention or the emphasis was on Josh's best interests and not on the child's.
This is a difficult dilemma within a family, obviously. You have a son come forward and confess these things to parents, and then the parents have the question of what do they do to protect their daughters, and then what is their responsibility that remains to their son. How do you think that they handled it? What would you have done? What would you have suggested to them if they brought this problem to you?
Well, those are two different questions. I think that what I would do is colored by the years of experience, but I think what the average family would do if somebody came forward and they knew this was going on in their family, they'd probably start with their pediatrician. If they just didn't know what to do next, they would start with their pediatrician, who would be a mandated reporter, and the pediatrician would report it to authorities, and then the Department of Social Services, that is called different things in different states, and the law enforcement would take over. So I think that that's what most people would probably do.
But is a clinical psychologist a mandated reporter? Are you a mandated reporter?
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely, yeah. So if they came to me,
going to you is the same in effect ultimately as going to the police.
Correct, and even in North Carolina, actually, any adult over the age of 18 is a mandated reporter. Although a lot of people don't know that. But if they came to me even as a friend, I would have to report it.
So that creates a real difficulty, it seems, for people who aren't sure whether they want help, but they're not sure they want this reported. They're not sure it rises to the level that should be reported and disrupt their lives.
It's true, and I do have empathy for any family that finds themselves in that situation because, of course, as someone said, you love both your kids, but I think you have to protect the children that are most vulnerable. And as I said, I think most parents would probably start with their pediatrician and maybe not realize that it was going to be reported, but it would be.
What is your experience with the system's ability to help someone like this 14, 15-year-old boy who's doing these things?
Well, you know, last night they cited research that said that 95% of young boys who are treated are never do it again. And one of the problems we have with offenders is that we have a really small slice of the universe of offenders to get to know, because they're either in the prison system or they're in the mental health system and available to research. But my understanding, and I'm not an expert in predators, but my understanding is that, in fact, juvenile offenders are more likely to reoffend later in life. So I think it's, you know, I think the real answer is we honestly don't know, because we have access to such a small universe of offenders.
Dr. Mary Gail Frawley-O'Dea, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.